us to talk a little Vanderbilt Commodores football, baby. Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia has been granted an injunction allowing for added eligibility. Pavia sued the NCAA in November, claiming the organization's rule that counts a player's time in junior college towards his overall years of NCAA eligibility is a violation of an antitrust law that was unfairly limiting his ability to make money from his name, image, and likeness. Judge William Campbell's decision Wednesday is not a final ruling on the case, but it prevents the NCAA from keeping Pavia out of college football until the case is resolved. Pavia threw for 2,133 yards and 17 touchdowns last year at Vanderbilt. It helped the Commodores get to a 6-6 record to reach a bowl game as they upset Alabama and Auburn. He played 2 seasons at New Mexico State before that. And before that was a junior college for 2 years in New Mexico. Guys, this could cause an earthquake. This could cause an earthquake in college football if this is upheld. Let's break this down real quick. Traditionally, your junior college years count towards your eligibility playing college football. They always have. You spend 1 year in junior college, you transfer, you got 3 years of eligibility unless you redshirt. You spend 2 years in junior college, you got 2 years of eligibility unless you redshirt. What they're saying now is if you go to junior college, it shouldn't count against your eligibility because it hampers your ability to make money. Guys, I got to be honest. If this holds up, what's to stop it from stopping at junior college? Forget Diego Pavia for a minute. Okay, so he's back at Vanderbilt for another year. We can talk about what that means for Vanderbilt. They'll be better next year, I guess. Maybe they could get 7 wins. Who knows with Clark Lee. But if you can sit there and create and not have junior college count against your eligibility because it's an antitrust violation, who's to say that eligibility limitations in general aren't antitrust violations? Who's to say that you just can't stay in college forever? As long as you're taking a grad school class or something like that, and you can just play while going to grad school permanently. Guys, I don't know about you, but I know some professional grad school students who just stayed in college to avoid things like paying on their student loans or whatever. You don't think that players could start doing that? Who's to stop a 25-year-old or a 26-year-old or 27-year-old from playing his 10th year of college football? Because, eligibility limitations violate antitrust laws. Guys, this is the thing that no one understands when these things happen. They don't stop where they are. I've told you guys this about college football playoff expansion. I've told you guys this about NIL lawsuits. They don't stop in the moment. They keep going. Now, there's going to be a higher court rule on this, so this may not be set in stone. But if you set the precedent that junior college hampers a player's NIL ability due to eligibility, you open up a whole new can of worms. What happens then if someone says, okay, forget just the whole jumping to there should be no eligibility in college football. What if a player just says that it shouldn't count against my eligibility unless I play for the most valuable NIL team possible or for the school that gave me the most NIL money? What if somebody says, well, when I played for New Mexico State, like Diego Pavia did, and say someone plays for them and transfers to Tennessee or Ohio State, since we got fights between both those on the message board, I'm talking about this week's matchup. Who's to say that somebody says, well, my years at New Mexico State, I wasn't able to make the same amount of NIL money as my years at Ohio State, so I should not be out of eligibility. So they shouldn't count against my eligibility rulings. Ohio State playing 4 years there should. Guys, this is kind of where we're headed. And the rules are going to keep changing. And the judges, here's the thing about the judges that keep ruling this way. They're hamstrung. They're hamstrung because of the lawsuits against the NCAA that has basically thrown everything to the curb, every single stipulation and regulation, because they're all antitrust violations. And honestly, this Diego Pavia lawsuit could end up being crazy. Now, we've heard of older quarterbacks and older players in the past. I do believe when Josh Heupel won his national championship as quarterback of Oklahoma, he beat Florida State, who was led by a Heisman winner and Chris Winkie at the time, who, by the way, also was a assistant coach at Tennessee under Jimmy Pruitt for a couple of years. But point being, Chris Winkie was 28 when he won the Heisman that year and then scored 2 points against Oklahoma. Josh Heupel won the national title that year. So it's not abnormal to have older players. That's not the problem. The problem is that they may not ever run out of eligibility. Now, I don't know what the solution is. I don't know what the answer is. I think there's a way to set this up, but if you just say blindly it's an antitrust violation, the NCAA can't do any regulations, period. See, that's the logical conclusion. So we can't talk about solutions real quick right now, because any solution that would deal with this would only further exacerbate the issue and be struck down, because it could also be an antitrust violation. I don't know what to do with this whole situation. At some point there's going to have to be a compromise reached, but even if there's a compromise reached, somebody else could sue down the road and say that compromise violates their antitrust laws. This is why Congress is going to have to get in. I know you guys hate it. You guys hate hearing that Congress has to get in and that Congress has to get involved. Nobody wants to see that happen, but there has to be a national standard. There has to be a national law created for the NCAA. And by the way, you can't even complain about Congress getting involved, because these lawsuits that are happening are based on antitrust violations, which was a law passed by Congress back in the 1890s. So if an action by Congress from the 1890s can be having this impact, you can't complain about saying Congress shouldn't get involved. They already are involved. This is all based on a law passed by them 120 years ago, 130 years ago. And I'm all for players getting paid, but there is no regulations on it right now. And you've got to separate things a little bit you really have to separate things, the NCAA, from the rest of antitrust laws. I don't know how you do it. They do that with other sports. They've done it with the NFL. I do believe the NFL has some antitrust protections. You'll get exceptions if you concede to certain rules and stipulations. And that's what needs to be done here. They need to allow the NCAA to concede to certain rules and stipulations that allows them to be somewhat exempt from the antitrust laws. And then something can be set up to have these players get paid. Because honestly, guys, this lawsuit by Diego Pavia, I don't blame him. Do what you can. But truth be told, it's going to create way more issues down the road, guys. We're looking at a very, very, very shady situation here, where, again, you're not – just think about the logical conclusion. Timothy McGee says this is stupid. I also think the transfer portal should open after the bowl and playoff system. As far as option out, you should be able to pay some of that NIL back. They didn't finish their job. Timothy, I agree, but contracts are contracts and payment is payment. And again, until Congress gets involved, this is how it's going to be. And the problem with the transfer portal, and I've talked about this for a while, December is the best window to transfer. It's at the end of the first semester. The college football playoff and the expanded playoff conflicts with the end of the first semester. I mean, that's just how it goes. And there's really no way to get around it. You can't really move the transfer portal back. All you can maybe do is say that the transfer portal doesn't open until May. Steve Sullivan says 6-year senior could be the new standard. Steve, not 6-year senior. Try 26-year senior. Not really 26, but try like 10, 12-year senior. I'm not even kidding you. If this goes through, if this ruling is upheld, you're going to see another ruling that rules against any eligibility requirements for the NCAA. This is basically saying the eligibility is an antitrust violation because it limits players' ability to make NIL money. That gets things crazy. Dan McAllister says Congress will mess it up like everything else. Dan, I get your point, but the whole reason this thing is messed up to begin with is because of a law by Congress. Like, again, now Congress didn't pass the Sherman Antitrust Act thinking that it would affect the NCAA. The NCAA didn't even exist when that happened. But it is kind of a big issue, and it's got to be addressed. And so this Diego Pavia lawsuit, guys, could have major implications long-term, and I don't know what can be done about it, but I think Congress is going to have to get involved to set some exceptions for the NCAA, and then we could figure this out. What I would say I would say 2 years of junior college counts as 1 year of eligibility. We'll do that. 2 years of junior college counts as 1 year of eligibility. 1 year of junior college, I don't know. We'd have to figure that out. Maybe half a year of eligibility. You can play half a semester, but then if you redshirt, you can maybe get two. It's very tricky. It's very dicey to see how that's going to happen. But as of right now, there just doesn't seem like there's going to be any eligibility rules. And again, at some point, players are going to have to be unionized and employed, or Congress is going to have to step up and get involved, because this is absolutely now. Even I, who am the most pro-player person possible, I find this to be getting out of hand, because you have to have eligibility for college athletics, guys. It is college sports for a reason. I was for the players getting paid. I wasn't one of those that the degree is the money, but college sports does live off of eligibility rules. I mean, that's kind of the fundamentals of college athletics.
So if you don't have that, you're going to have a major issue going forward. And I don't think that eligibility, this Diego Pavia lawsuit could absolutely lead to a catastrophe for college football.